Summer of Santa Carla. Tonight, we're going to celebrate the 35th anniversary of one of our favorite films ever made. We are the Frog Bros Podcast. My name is Justin.
I'm Alec.
And out in the crowd, we have our buddy Daniel with the Midnight Movie Trash Show. So make sure you check us out online and check out his show too. So tonight, we have Jason Patric coming out for us. But we got a few things to announce before. He's on his way, folks. So the 35th anniversary 4K Blu-ray set drops September 20th. If you want the best edition you can find online, Zavy.com has it. It's a whole special collector's set. If you just want the steelbook, check out BestBuy.com for that. And then the regular, everyday run-of-the-mill online shops have the 35th anniversary art available for that. So, we're going to give it just a second, and Jason will be right here with us.
One, back up.
He was on his way.
Okay. More than one. Text a second, right? Text a second. Say a second.
Give the biggest round of applause to Jason Patric. Make him feel welcome to Texas. Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm good.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks for taking your time today and signing so much for everyone out there and making yourself available. How's the day been going? You having fun?
Yeah, I'm having a good time seeing everybody and seeing some of these guys I haven't seen in a long time, so it's nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think everyone here knows you and probably loves you for one of our favorite films ever. I know it's one of mine. We named our podcast after it, for crying out loud. Alec, jump in here for us.
So, first question I have, and he wrote a different question first, and I'm going to let him ask that one, is how did it feel to become a teenage heartthrob? How did that change your life?
Well, we can't talk about that right now. No, but things are a lot different back then. There was no internet, there wasn't any of that kind of stuff, so unless you really played into that, and I didn't. I mean, the next movie I made after this was, I cut my hair off and played a Russian tank soldier. So I didn't make those teen-type movies.
Yeah.
So I never really felt that. I mean, there were some fringe benefits along the way, but for the most part, this movie's grown in that sense over the years. Because a lot of people don't know, when it came out, it wasn't a massive hit in the movie theaters. It was, a sizable hit, but it was massive on VHS and all that.
Yes, for sure. It's one of those movies I don't remember watching for the first time, because I've just always watched it my entire life. I don't know what that is like to watch it for the first time. It's just kind of always been with me. So, what do you think the most challenging part of the shoot was, if you can remember that far back now?
We're 19 and 20 years old. You should be able to do pretty much anything at that age. It's not that hard.
Right.
But I think one of the best things about the movie is all the effects that you see, all the makeup effects, all the visual effects, they're all done in camera. They're real. They're none of that CGI, crap that... CGI and the computer-generated stuff initially was to help things that you couldn't get around the story that you wanted. Now, stories are just made around the CGI.
Yeah.
And so, we had to come up with interesting ways to do the flying and to do falling off the bridge, the trestle, all that stuff. And so that stuff was physically demanding.
Yeah.
When I'm in the room, when I, start floating and all that stuff, that was tough stuff to do, because you're on wires, you're on different rigs to make it work, and it's cut together to look like you're floating, but it's not easy, that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good answer. Do you have a favorite quote from the movie?
A favorite quote? Everyone has better quotes than I do. So I don't know. I mean, a lot of the people that have come, they ask me to sign something, your favorite quote, and I don't remember much of it. What's your favorite quote?
I'd say at least your character's favorite quote is probably the one about stuffing the widow Johnson.
Oh, right. That is. I forgot about that.
Solid.
I think when Corey says you're a goddamn shit-sucking vampire, wait till Mom finds out. It's a pretty good quote.
Yeah. Solid. What projects do you have to release in the future? Are you excited about anything you have coming up?
Yeah, I just did this sort of action movie called Shrapnel in March, and then I'm probably doing something in November. So that's pretty much it. I try to take the summer off. I'm a dad. I got a 12-year-old, so
Yeah.
when I can take time off, I do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Billy's not out here to defend himself tonight, but who was better at driving the dirt bike on the set? You or Billy?
I'd never ridden a motorcycle. All those other guys did. I can tell you the story that, so the stuntman, a guy named Gary Davis, who's a famous stuntman and a very good motorcycle guy, I went up to his house and for a week just sort of learned how to ride because I hadn't ridden at all. And Kiefer was Mr. Motorcycle. But on the very first day of filming that we were there, it was at nighttime, and I had not worked with Kiefer yet, but he was on his motorcycle and he was riding up and down, buzzing really fast, trying to do wheelies, trying to impress some girl on the set, completely wiped out, and actually broke his hand on that first day. So that's why his character wears gloves, because one of his hands was in a splint most of the movie, because they had to put him in a splint right away. So Gary Davis, the great stunt coordinator, said Jason was the better motorcycle rider. Now, as far as Billy goes, I don't know, but since he's not here, I'm going to say I'm absolutely better than he was.
That's the answer I was expecting.
Yeah.
So we got Daniel out in the crowd. He's going to take some crowd questions for us. But while we're at it, we want to do a shout out to all the Platinum Pass purchasers. We couldn't have put on a show this amazing without your support. And thanks to every single person out here that came out and bought a ticket for this and is out here supporting this and bringing that love of horror and carrying that on with the younger generation. I've seen so many kids and families here tonight. It's absolutely incredible.
First time gonna watch the movie.
Awesome. That's what we love.
Congratulations.
You got to pass these down to the family. Daniel, you want to take one for us?
Yes, Jason, let me ask you like this right now, her first time seeing it. How does it feel for your film to cross generations?
Well, you know, I didn't really do a lot of these cons before, but a few years ago, someone came up to me and I talked to Kiefer because we're always so busy and we're good friends. About 10 years ago, we were on Broadway, so we spent a lot of time together. But someone came up to me and said, hey man, this might be a good way we can hang out for a weekend and have a few drinks, meet some people, and have some fun. So we started with that. But when you meet these people, you realize this movie, almost more than any other movie, has this real transgenerational quality. I mean, I've met so many people, even today, that met as teenagers watching this VHS, had their first kiss, they're married now. I've been at other cons where people propose to each other in front of me. They all pass this down to their kids, and I think because it's a movie about belonging, it's a movie about, you know, when you're a teenager, alienation, wanting to be something, all that, and so it really affected people. And because it was on VHS, people watch it over and over and over and over again. And they passed it down and down. So I think it's a great thing that's the first time. I also think it's a great thing that everybody's here because it's important to see movies the way they were meant to be made, which is here, not on your phone. This is the way you're supposed to watch a movie.
With your friends, your family, on the biggest screen you could possibly find.
And you're also supposed to watch it with strangers. You're supposed to go into the idea of a movie going into a dark movie house that you are willingly going into, sit with strangers, hoping to laugh and cry with strangers. That's why you go into a movie. And in today's day, when people don't even say hello walking down the street, that communal idea is still very important.
Absolutely. In theaters, some of the most magical experiences I've ever had is going to the theater, and I've been going to the theater obsessively since I was a kid, is just that moment at the end where people like break out into applause.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't happen all the time. So you go on those opening nights and it's just magical to see everybody there, people bringing their families, their friends, and then that row next to you, and you make a friend when you go to the movie.
Oh, sure.
Because you're going to talk to somebody next to you, talk about the preview or talk about the movie at the end because there's just so much excitement about it.
It's a communal thing, and it's important, and we've lost that because everybody's on their phones and their gadgets. So all I would say is that anytime you can take advantage of going to a movie with your family or with strangers, go. And this is a perfect example. And if you're going to see it for the first time on the screen, you're ahead of 99% of the people that have ever seen the movie. So God bless you.
All right, Daniel, let's take some crowd questions out here. We got a great group out here, and so track some down.
All right,
Right down here.
And if you have a question up close, make sure you step back a little bit. We don't want to get too much feedback out there, so let's be careful of that.
Hi, so I love Halloween. I'm obsessed with it, and I've had a lot of friends, myself included, do cosplay and dress up. What is your go-to Halloween costume? Have you been yourself for Halloween?
I usually go as Michael from the Lost Boys. No, I'll tell you funny stories that my son loves Halloween. He's 12. This is his favorite holiday, and I guess maybe about 3 years ago, I showed him the movie. I don't watch my own movies, but kids at school told him that your dad's in that movie, and he said, yeah, I was. So we put it on and we watched it. And so a couple of years ago, he dressed as a Frog Brother. I had to find all this kind of stuff, put stuff on him, we had to whittle stakes in the backyard, do the whole thing. And then he says to me, I said, yeah, I said, you look great. And he says, I got an idea. I'll be a Frog Brother and you can go as Michael. And I said, I think you got to get a lot younger, a lot better looking guy to go as Michael. And he said, Dad. And then he said, I think you're right.
Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah. So I took it, but I dress up. I'll wear a mask, if anything, just to whip them around places.
Awesome. So who's next?
Oh, you want me to ask her? I'll ask your question, damn it. Do you actually know how many times they say your name in the movie?
The only reason I would know this is that people come up to me and say something, but I think it's
Come on, it's a drinking game. You should go. Come on. No? How many?
I'm going to take a shot. I know it's over 100. 118.
Good, yes, woo!
Is that right?
Yes, it's 118.
Look at that.
I don't get a prize for that?
I think you get a prize for that. Let's give him some stickers. Yeah, get him another beer, and there's some stickers for you. It's not much, but it's honest work. All right, let's take some more questions. What do we got?
Okay, I told you this earlier whenever I met you, that Speed 2 was my favorite movie when I was a kid.
You are singular.
I know, that's what you said. Do you have any fun stories from filming that movie?
I'll say the entire movie was fun. We were in the Caribbean for 4 or 5 months, but it was incredibly taxing because, without being Tom Cruise-ish, I did all that stunt stuff in the water is really difficult to do. Being pulled and all that other kind of stuff. But I actually enjoyed it, and Sandy was lovely and funny. I mean, it's certainly not my favorite movie, but it's no worse than 20 other movies that came out that year. But sometimes it's about your life experience at the time, and that was a good one.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in and say I love Speed 2 Cruise Control, and if you haven't seen it, go check it out tonight. After the screening, of course. But it'd make a good double feature, I think. Oh, yeah, let's ask you. Do you have any memorabilia from the movie still? Any props left over?
I took the glasses and the leather jacket, and then I stupidly gave them away. I literally had a friend who wanted a jacket, and I said, well, you can take this one. I looked in the closet, and I realized now, 35 years later, with the insanity of memorabilia everywhere, I think they're probably worth something. But they're gone.
Oh. Do we got any more questions in the audience? Just raise your hand if you're out in the back. And
Any favorite memories from the set?
I spent a lot of time with Corey before we started filming because I wanted to really establish that fraternal relationship, so you believe that these guys are brothers. Because what I'll say is and I've said in interviews before, I turned that movie down many, many times, and I was an actor with no jobs or money, but I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do, the script itself was not what the movie you see. It was just, I just didn't feel like being in a teen vampire movie, but Joel was very, very, very persistent. And then he got all these great actors and great, cinematographer and everything. And so I decided to do it. but I felt that I really need to spend a lot of time with Corey to get that feeling. So as you see in the movie, there's a physicality to those guys that's not in the script, but you believe they're brothers. And there's little quips and asides and all that kind of time because you believe they're brothers. So before we started, he'd come over and I'd play ball with him, play wiffle ball, you know, keep him in line, things like that. So that was a good thing. And I feel bad that he sort of lost his way after that. But those relationships and the fun. I mean, the other guys talk about partying and all that. I didn't do that like those guys did because I felt I had. Everybody in that movie can play their own. You know, Kiefer can be interesting and sexy, and Corey can be funny, and everyone can do this and everyone do that. But I felt that you're not going to believe that movie if Michael is not the reality point and balancing everybody. You have to see this guy balancing the supernatural aspect of it, the family aspect of it, the confusion. And so to me, it was hard. It was work. And I would say Joel gave me a lot of freedom for a 19-year-old to, you know, write dialogue or have discussions about the script, which, you know, people didn't have that back in 1986.
Oh, look who it is. Alan Frog himself and Dwayne.
Some more fans showed up.
It is Jameson Newlander and Billy Wirth, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my gosh, it's G-Tom Mac.
Welcome, everybody. I appreciate you coming out here. This party just got wild, didn't it?
It did.
So we're going to jump in here. So, Jameson, we got one for you. So you were telling me the other day that Jason here was such a great big brother to you on set. He was just talking about how you did, you guys had that bond, but he was just telling us about the bond he made with Corey when they were shooting. So do you want to tell us about like that bond and like what it meant to you for him to help you out on set?
No, man, if you had that with Corey, that's cool. No, the thing is that I was, this was my first really big movie, and also first time really working with people who I recognized, who I knew, and you know, it could be intimidating. And I tried to be as cool and confident. You guys maybe you didn't even think I was nervous because I played it off so well. But the thing is that it's one thing for actors on the set to be like, you know, kind to you or whatever, but you know, we were the younger kids, and you know, Jason was just really cool. I mean, you know, maybe I overplayed it as like the big brother thing because it's not like we had, you know, of course you and Haim had that thing, and of course Schumacher was like, you had real time to build that, and it was beautiful, you know. But it's just that I felt really like taken care of by the actors who were, you know, felt to me like they knew what they were doing, you know, is all. So it was nice. You know, you're welcome. That's about it.
So, Billy, a few minutes ago, Jason had an interesting thing to say about dirt biking in that he described himself as a better dirt biker than you.
Oh, really? Well, he might have been. I didn't get to see him ride too much on the thing, but
Set me up.
yeah. Well, we had a lot.
They knew what they were doing, you know, is all. So
Jason was definitely a better actor than I was. I mean, more seasoned actor, and it was just such a, you know, great first movie for myself. Like I said last night, I didn't have a lot of dialogue, and I just was around really talented actors who I didn't really even have an understanding of the craft at that point in my career. But you know, Jason, I know, was pretty seasoned at that young age, and so was Corey Haim. I mean, you know, these guys have been in big movies before, and Kiefer, and you know, all the experience that I was able to garner from being in a film with such talent. It was a great honor, and the story continues, but it's good to be here and love all you guys.
That's awesome. Good to hear. So, G, you have a Lost Boys story, the musical. You have CDs of all the music available at your booth.
Well, they were CDs in today's world don't really mean anything other than it's a nice little prop to be able to sign.
I still buy
Vinyl,
CDs.
by the way, obviously we all know that has.
they knew what they were doing, you know, is all. So it was nice. You know, you're welcome. That's about it.
So, Billy, a few minutes ago, Jason had an interesting thing to say.
They knew what they were doing, is all. So it was nice. You're welcome. That's about it.
So, Billy, a few minutes ago, Jason had an interesting thing to say about dirt biking in that he described himself as a better dirt biker than you.
Oh, really? Well, he might have been. I didn't get to see him ride too much on the thing, but
Set me up.
yeah. But we had a lot of fun riding. But Jason was definitely a better actor than I was. I mean, he's more seasoned actor, and it was just such a, great first movie for myself. Like I said last night, I didn't have a lot of dialogue, and I just was around really talented actors who I didn't really even have a understanding of the craft at that point in my career. But Jason, I know, was pretty seasoned at that young age, and so was Corey Haim. I mean, these guys have been in big movies before, and Kiefer, and all the experience that I was able to garner from being in a film with such talent. It was a great honor, and the story continues. But it's good to be here, and love all you guys.
That's awesome. Good to hear. So, G, you have a Lost Boys story, the musical. You have CDs of all the music available at your booth.
Well, they were CDs in today's world don't really mean anything other than it's a nice little prop to be able to sign.
I still buy
vinyl,
CDs.
by the way, obviously we all know that has validity to it, and we'll have that. But we're not here to talk about my musical.
Do you have any?
But we can.
I was just going to ask one more question about it. Do you have any tentative release for a vinyl for that?
The vinyl is going to come sometime before the end of this year. It probably is a Christmas time.
Well, that's perfect.
Piece of product.
We need to buy each other.
That's right.
Vinyl for Christmas.
Vinyl Christmas presents for all.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing that on vinyl. And I think that's just something worth to mention here is that G's been working on this amazing musical. My personal favorite song from it is the Frog Bros Hero Music. But that's just me. I might be biased.
You host the Frog Bro podcast, so
it's just got something to do with that, maybe.
Have you heard Death by Stereo?
Yeah, that's also
a good song too.
The whole soundtrack is available wherever you stream music, so I would highly suggest turning that on, streaming it on your way home tonight.
On your way home to watch Speed 2.
Yeah, there's some funky stuff on there, and Frog Bro Hero is probably one of the most fun songs I've ever written, and Death by Stereo it's its own thing, but it all works within the big package of how this musical is taking shape. And probably would have been out by now, but a little thing called a pandemic happened and spooked us all out. So anyway, this stuff takes time, and it's never. I've said this once before. Jason understands this world, and I've been in the world of studying theatrical music, and thanks to Stephen Sondheim getting me with a good teacher back in the day to learn how to write the actual book and what it all meant. And so music video.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever seen.
That's a trick question, isn't it? Because that's finally coming out. Part of the 35th anniversary collection is the music video is finally launched. So can you tell us about that real quick?
Well, yeah, real quick. It was about back in the day when they released the sound. Atlantic Records was the label that released Lost Boys, where Warner Brothers had a relationship with them, and the deal was Atlantic Records wanted to have one of their artists sing my song Vital Sister, and those artists were, and they auditioned, Phil Collins, Steve Perry, and about 5 others. And Atlantic Records wanted to hearing it. He said, listen, I will gladly listen to everything, but this is the voice and the narrator of this film, and this is why his voice matters. Atlantic Records wanted to produce the film. They were both on the same page about it, and I really didn't care at that point. I was happy living in New York in my, flying to LA every once in a while to do work on movies and stuff like that, and but it was just one of those things that he just said, no, instinctively, your voice is carrying the film. And I said, oh, great. And so, but Atlantic didn't want to do a video on it because I wasn't on their label, and they were trying to promote, Atlantic Records wanted to. And so Warner's got in touch with me and they said, did you ever do a video to Cry Little Sister? This is for the 4K that's coming out next month, the Ultra HD 4K. And I said, we had a chat, and I said, well, I certainly, do you have a vision? I said, of course I do. And one of the things before Joel Schumacher, rest his soul, passed on, he said, please get that video made. And he said, I trust your sensibilities about this. So Atlantic Records wanted to have one of their artists sing my song, Cry Little Sister. And those artists were, and they auditioned, Phil Collins, Steve Perry, and about 5 others. And Joel was not, and also have an equal parts with the song and the film. So you'll be, Warner Brothers gave us permission to put this up tonight because they didn't want it to be seen before the HD comes, before they do all the cross promotion stuff with the song and video. So you will be able to view this tonight, and this will be my first time seeing it on a big screen. So it's scary.
All right, thank you, G. I appreciate that. So we've got a few more minutes left here. And we're going to take just a couple more crowd questions. So Daniel, can you jump out there in the back rows and see who might have a question for us? We got 2 more out here in the crowd, and then we're going to try to wind this thing down so everyone can watch this film on the big screen out here.
I have a question for the entire cast. What was Santa Cruz like in the 1980s?
What was Santa Cruz like in the 1980s?
Santa Cruz, we had a lot of hippies, like actual hippies, communities, right? That's, that really
leftover ones.
Yeah, leftover ones from the 60s. It was like literally communities that really looked like you might imagine hippies in the 60s, like colorful clothing. Am I right? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the beginning of the movie really kind of sets that tone. It's very authentic with those opening shots where they're just kind of going around down, right?
Yeah, and that was real. And then our parents, the Frog Brother parents, were local.
They look like deadheads. They're basically asleep in the shop.
Yeah, and Schumacher, I remember him explaining that. He's like, because he had to come up with the reason why we're running the shop, So he was like, I got these guys, these local guys, and they're going to be just asleep in the background, and it works. Like, that's what you see. It's great. So that's what I noticed.
All right, we'll take one more question from the crowd, and then we're going to wrap this thing up.
Was there any meaning to the panning of Jim Morrison every time you guys went into the vampire cave? Like, it always had a shot of Jim Morrison in the back.
So they're talking about the Jim Morrison shot, the painting down in the cave. It's a very famous scene. So it's like, I believe you're asking about like the overall feeling of that or the intention behind that?
I guess he was a, iconic kind of anti-hero rock star, and it feels like it was part of the vibe of the Lost Boys. We would look up to the Doors kind of music, and then Jason, he's got a resemblance, I think, to Jim, and it was kind of cool, but
I feel that's very authentic to that, right? You get that big Doors poster in there, you see Jim on it, and that really kind of sells that kind of counterculture that carried over down into those vampires. They're just lost souls, and they carry over with that. So I think that really kind of sets the tone there. And obviously,
and Billy's right about that, their connection to that, but that's a testament to Joel too. There's never something in the script that says we will now cut to Michael who looks like Jim Morrison. No. We had a great production designer named Bo Welch who made that cave, and he decided to put a massive Morrison thing up there. We did that scene, and then Joel said, Jason looks a little like Jim Morrison. So, and then him and the editor put that together. And, that movie is shot by the great late Michael Chapman, and Michael Chapman shot Raging Bull, shot Taxi Driver, was the operator on Jaws. You don't get a cinematographer like that in a teen vampire movie. That's why it looks phenomenal and it still lasts. I actually always take offense when people say campy 80s movie. No, Fright Night is a campy 80s movie. Right. With a lot of cheat. I mean, when you watch it right here, I want you to watch when they go into the store with the Frog Brothers. How it's lit, the long dollies, and how that scene works, because you got these two guys coming in and how they follow Corey. Look at all the colors, how he lights the comics. And it's not what you see today. Quick cuts. 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 3. No, because it's the guy who shot friggin' Raging Bull. That's why. Yeah. And that's why the movie lasts, 35 years later. So watch that tonight. Watch the cinematography. Watch how there is a patience to the movie. And watch that you do not see a vampire for 45 minutes in a vampire movie. That would never happen today. You get the feeling of a vampire. You get the horror of a vampire. You get the tension of a vampire. But you never see a vampire until these guys have that, eating fest. And that would never happen today. So there's a patience, there's an understanding, and you will have patience if you believe in the characters and you follow the characters. And Joel enabled you and all the great people to follow these guys, so you wanted to see them, and built that tension. And that doesn't happen in movies anymore.
Amen.
I was going to say, let's end on that, because we're not going to top that. Thank you very much, Jason Patric, Jamison Newlander, Billy Worth, and G. Tom Mack.
Thank you.
Round of applause. And thanks everyone in the crowd for making this movie last. Have a great night, everybody, and enjoy the film.